Special thanks to these companies for being long-term partners of this channel.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Zach. Here we talk about overlanding, gear, builds, DIY, all sorts of stuff related to modifying your vehicle for adventuring and exploring the outdoors. And some of you have seen my Viper cut video or that high clearance cut on my bumper. And I thought the video actually did pretty well. And so some of you were already commenting though, you know, oh, well, there's different kits and stuff out there for getting rid of your windshield washer tank. And, you know, maybe you should consider one of those. And so those are all a lot of really good suggestions. And that's exactly what I was hoping to do. And so that's why I actually ordered an AQUA tank from Rago Fabrication. They make this awesome windshield wiper deletion kit, which is just this like custom aluminum container that you bolt on to a spot on the front of your vehicle. And I thought the kit was super awesome, so I ordered one, and that's what we're going to be talking about today. So if you like this sort of content, if you like what I'm doing with the channel, if you ever just have questions, you know, feel free to hit me up in the comments below or message me on Instagram. And also consider subscribing, you know, so that you can follow along for future content that's coming. I appreciate all the support from all of you, and let's jump right into unboxing this, and then we'll get it installed on the truck. So let's jump right in.
So before we throw this on the vehicle, I just want to show you all, you know, kind of what this thing looks like. Just to give you kind of some perspective, this is about the length of like a shoe. You know, it's about a foot long. And right here, this is where we're going to plug in the two connectors from your stock reservoir. And then these two bolts will just help us mount this to some of the metal that's on the frame of your vehicle already. So pretty simple. This is everything that comes in the box. And then we've got this nice billeted aluminum cap with the fancy Rago Fabrication R on the top. And this is where you'll fill your washer fluid. So that's all. Let's jump out to the vehicle and let's start getting this thing installed.
All right, so for the sake of just explaining how to do this install, I'm going to remove my whole front bumper shroud just so that I can show you all like how I do this. You probably don't need to, because especially if you have a Viper cut, you can come right in at this area here, probably reach up to where it needs to mount. You know, everything's fairly exposed, but because of the bumper cover, it's just hard to film where I need to get to. So I've got some different zip ties in here just to keep it clean. Because of the Viper cut, I'm going to remove all those so that I can really open all this up and show you what's going on. So right now I'm just unplugging lights, clipping zip ties, that sort of thing. Should be good to go. I just got to do the other side. So when you're removing this bumper, it is probably a lot easier for you than for me. I have a ton of different bolts and zip ties in random places from just doing different modifications I designed myself. And so right now what I'm doing is I removed all the side bolts and the wheel wells, which is typically what you do. If you have just a stock front bumper, there's a bunch of clips and bolts on the bottom you remove, and then the whole thing pops off. With the C4 bumper, we've got these brackets on the sides, which I have to remove so that the bumper can unbolt itself from this plastic cover. And then the other thing I have to do is, because my grill lights bolt onto the frame through these holes that hold the front cover, I've got to actually remove my front Raptor light bracket in order to pop this thing off, as well as like 5 different clips in my engine bay. So I'm just working on doing that right now. And then once we get all that off, I'm going to pop off this cover. There's some plastic pieces that are kind of in the way, so we're going to have to use the Dremel to trim that stuff. So that's why I'm just going to remove this whole thing so I can install it right and I can see everything that's going on. Okay, so I skipped a little bit forward because this part is probably especially boring for any of you that don't have a front bumper like I do. But what we're basically doing right now is I just removed this plastic cover, and I have a front camera, and so there's a wire that connects to that. It's not very disconnectable because it's cheap. I should probably make a little clip for it, but I haven't. And so what we're gonna do is fold up the cover because I left a little slack in that wire just for purposes like this. So I've set my cover up on top of my engine, and that's exposed all of this in here. So there's these little plastic things right here, and there's another one on the other side of the bumper that help to shape the front of the plastic cover when you have like no front bumper or anything. We're gonna have to cut those up, and they also make it really difficult to remove the front bumper. And so I'm just thinking maybe I'll cut those off completely so it's easy to put the cover on and off, because with the low pro bumper and this like metal lip right here, it can be pretty challenging sometimes to actually put the cover back on and take it off. So that's kind of what I'm toying around with. Now we'll just move on to the next thing and get this space all prepped for putting in the washer tank. So actually, before we cut this plastic over here, there's just a couple of bolts that I need to remove to get the washer tank free. So this is one of them right here that just has a welded on nut to this piece of sheet metal which is connected to the frame. So just gonna remove this bolt.
So on the passenger side, there's actually this other bolt, and I just wanted to show where this location was. It's in the wheel well, and it's kind of towards the top. It shouldn't necessarily be covered up by the plastic wheel well, but I just wanted to show where it was so that you didn't take out 2 bolts and then wonder where the third was. This is where it is.
Looks like there's another bolt right in here. So this bolt right here, the nut for the back of it is actually in the windshield wiper plastic like enclosure. And so what happened is this one for some reason like basically twisted off. Like the inside of the threads wouldn't catch on the plastic, and so I couldn't get it out. And I don't have a hand grinder handy. I typically just borrow one, so it's something I really need to buy, but I didn't have anything. So what I did was I hit this bolt with a heat gun for like a minute or two to really melt the plastic around the other side, and that allowed me to just shove my flathead through here and just pry it open and pull the nut basically through the plastic because I melted it all in. And since we're getting rid of the windshield tank, you know, it doesn't really matter what I do to it. So now just got to pull out the washer tank and see if we can salvage some of the fluid, but I don't know, we'll see. Probably not going to be able to. So I'm going to grab a bucket just in case it like drips everywhere, and then we'll go from there. All right, so there's probably no perfect way to do this, but what I'm going to do is this plastic we just need to like keep out of our way. I'm going to try and bend it somewhere where it's not going to be a problem. And then I'm going to remove just this bottom clip. Not quite sure how to do that just yet, but all right, so I removed this electrical harness from the one side here. Now I'm just going to try and twist this off so that I can have all of the fluid drain into here. Try and keep some of it. All right, well, we drained all of the fluid, and in the process just got everything soaked. Ugh, well, that wasn't quite as smooth as I was hoping it was gonna go. So once I got this whole plug removed, this really becomes pretty free and easy to drop. This other plug we'll probably have to remove as well. This is gonna kind of dangle here until you remove the top portion of it. And so in order for this to actually drop down, you're just gonna have to push the wheel well forward, and then this is the top portion. Mine's a little bit dirty, but it just sits in the top of the container. It doesn't even screw in or anything. You just have to pop out this one clip, and that gets removed. So now, if I just pull this liner forward, I should be able to pop this out. And then just remember that we've got that other little pump connection still in here, so got to remove that. But then once we remove that, should be all good to go. And I've just been kind of twisting them to get them a little bit loose, and then you just have to pry it out just like the other one. There we go. So you can kind of see they've got this little lip. And it's just like a rubber lipped gasket, and that's what holds these in. So this is the one side, and then this is where the other one clips in. Kind of broke the clip on the other one, so I'm gonna have to figure out a way to keep that plugged in. This is your old like windshield washer fluid tank. We'll throw that aside, and yeah, away we go. Now we just have to relocate this and plug it into the new tank. So in order to make room for this, we have to cut out this little plastic insert that I was talking about before. And so I've just got a little Dremel here with a cutting wheel. It should be pretty easy to cut out. I'm gonna leave as much in as I can for the time being, kind of cut out more as I need to. Alright, well, I was going to leave it in, but I broke the clips. I cut it off, okay, but broke the back clips, and honestly, it's kind of annoying having to like reach all the way up in through here and it getting in the way, so probably for the better. Anyways, now that we got all of that exposed, we just got to install this. And hopefully the low pro doesn't get in the way. I think we should be all right, but time to find out. Well, it's not the bumper getting in the way, but my winch cables are, kind of. Maybe we can kind of form them into submission a bit here. I'll let this sneak in here behind the cables, and the cables are gonna kind of go in here. I'll zip tie my cables to the thing once it's all said and done. Okay, there we go. So we've got the two holes lined up. Completely compatible with the Low Pro, so that's exciting. I didn't know if that was going to be the case or not, but it looks like we're all good to go. So let's just loosely thread in these these bolts here, just like that. And then I'm going to wrap a zip tie around this so that it holds all of the winch cables out of the way. Now I just need to get a socket on that. Appears to be a 9/16. Bingo. All right, let's tighten these back up. So we've got all of that bolted down. Now these, you just plug in to there, just like that. So now I just got to figure out which one to do first on which side. So I think just to make it easier on ourselves, we put on the rubber gaskets first and then just push them in. So I'm just gonna remove that rubber gasket and pop it right over that hole there, and then we'll grab the other one, do the same thing. When you're removing these, be very careful not to pry on these gaskets, and if you do, do it gently, because otherwise if you damage them, you're going to need new ones. Okay, so we've got one with a longer hose, longer wire, shorter hose, shorter wire. I don't think it matters which one we put in which spot, so you know, kind of do whatever you want, but I'm going to put the longer hose in the longer wire, just like this. Okay? Perfect. So now what I want to do here is just going to zip tie some of this stuff up out of the way
Try and keep it away from anything that could cause damage. So get this stuff all lined up here. I'm not going to pinch that down. I just want it to stay out of the way and not dangling, kind of like a spot that's going to be kind of dangerous. So I'm just using that to hold it there. It's not going to, I don't want it tight because I don't want to cut the hose on the metal or anything. So and that's just my own idea. That's not like a Rago fabrication recommendation or anything. I just think that's going to be a helpful. And then this right here clips over here. Again, I think I'm just going to throw a loose zip tie around it so that it stays in place. So that's all good to go. This electrical hose is it's kind of laying out there too. I mean, it's not bad, but let's see if we can get this kind of cleaned up again. I'm gonna wrap this around itself a little here. Just throw another zip tie around it. Again, this one also doesn't need to be tight. It's just kind of a sleeve, so to speak, to hold it for the folds. There. All right. Kind of train those wires. They were pinching the black side a little bit. So there we go. All right, that looks really clean. I'm gonna route my fog light wire on the other side, just so that's got plenty of slack that it needs. And all of this should be pretty good to go at this point. So now I'm gonna just fill up the wash and make sure that it works with the truck before I put it back together. So let's do that now. All right, well, just put a little bit in there. I'm actually gonna go buy a new thing of windshield washer fluid because I just wanna put clean stuff in. So we'll close that up. I think that's all good to go. Tested it on the car and everything works correctly. So time to just start putting everything back together. So this might be pretty dumb, but I'm gonna do it anyway. Because my truck is all black, I kind of like this to match, and so I'm gonna try hitting this with a little bit of black spray paint just to see if it looks okay, and we'll see how it goes. I don't know. It's kind of a 50-50, but we'll figure out real quick whether I'll regret it or not. So give this a go. Now, since this is smooth aluminum, I'm not very optimistic this is going to turn into a good paint job, but it's not really supposed to look amazing. It's just supposed to look a little bit like black instead of silver through the grill. So we'll see how that dries, but yeah, I don't know. We'll see. I gave it a go. It'll probably rub or flake off if it's not going to hold, and then it'll look the exact same as it did when I started painting it. So we'll find out. Okay, so yeah, I got everything back installed. Got my grill lights and everything kind of wired up, and that's where everything kind of sits. This side is still kind of silver, but at least the front is black, and I think that turned out really clean and super easy to fill up here. Now this cavity is all open, so you can mount whatever you wanted there. So pretty happy how this install turned out. And yeah, if you have any questions about this, feel free to comment down below. And until next time, thanks so much for supporting the channel. Consider subscribing if you like this sort of content, and I'll catch you all in the next video.